Hello, thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Hannah Fernandez and you're watching SCORE TV. SCORE is a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping small businesses across the United States get off the ground, grow, and achieve their goals through education and mentorship. So whether you are a new entrepreneur or you've been in business for a long time, our SCORE mentors could offer you free business mentoring and other resources for the life of your business. To connect with us, check out our website at chicago.score.org. You can also email us at info@scorechicago.org or call us at 312-353-7724. Today we're going to talk about how the Baumhart Center helps entrepreneurs embrace their social purpose in business. With me is Seth Green, founding director of the Baumhart Center. Seth, thank you so much for being here today.
My pleasure. I'm excited for the conversation.
Likewise, and social entrepreneurs are discovering that they can do well by doing good. So tell us about the Baumhart Center's mission to promote social business, and what is social business?
Yeah, so the Baumhart Center is an interdisciplinary hub at Loyola University Chicago that is bringing together the best of business and social purpose and looking at how we use business to both do good and do well together. And so our belief is that the best business has a purpose. We like to say every bottom line should be in pursuit of a top line, meaning it should be in pursuit of solving a problem, making society better while the entrepreneur is also doing better. And so what we do is we educate, we engage, and we research to promote that mission of harnessing the positive power of business. So we have an MBA exclusively for people who want to marry profit and purpose. We have in our undergraduate curriculum a minor where you can gain leadership skills to impact the world. We have executive certificates where you can learn how to be a social responsibility leader. And then we have over 30 events each year, almost all of which are free and open to the public, where you can learn specific tools. And then we research, we look at the latest trends. How are businesses getting the value out of this? How are they advertising the good that they do? Because what we want ultimately is for the good that they do to result in better performance so that we can have this virtuous cycle where businesses keep investing in doing good and they keep getting a return on that investment.
I love it. And Seth, you're a sought-after speaker on social entrepreneurship and nonprofit leadership, and your work has been published in media and hundreds of publications like CNN and the New York Times. So can you share your background and talk about the path that led you to social entrepreneurship?
Sure. So when I was growing up, social entrepreneurship was not a term really known. And so I was an econ major in college. And I worked one summer at a bank, and I remember talking to my then girlfriend, now wife, and saying, you know, I love the rigor, I love the economic side of this, but for me at that moment, I just didn't feel the purpose. And so I had this conversation with her, and I decided, well, you know, the people I see out there with purpose, they're lawyers at the Supreme Court, and so I decided, okay, I'll go to law school. Well, while I was in law school, we had a business school at the same university where they were teaching social entrepreneurship. And I got really fascinated by it, and I said, wow, you can use business to solve problems and make community stronger. And so that really became a passion point for me, and I went for a few years to work at a consulting firm that had a small part of it that focused on how you apply business to do good, and I got to join that work. And then I jumped out of there, and I've been a trailing spouse happily with a wonderful wife. And as we've moved, I found opportunities to be able to apply that at a social venture fund where you're investing in startups that have the potential to have deep impact in community. And then leading a nonprofit, and now at Loyola, have this intersection as the core of what I do, using business to do good better.
And I love how you're using your business acumen to actually improve our society. So thank you so much for that. Now, why are businesses increasingly concerned about social and environmental impacts?
So when I was growing up, there was a saying that what motivated people was God, family, country. And if you look at where we are today, we have the lowest level of formal religion, although many millennials have great spiritual and mindful techniques that they use. We have the lowest level of trust in government in our history. And we have the latest time in terms of family development. So these places of purpose in people's lives have changed dramatically. And it turns out the place where there's been huge growth is jobs. People today expect that they are going to find purpose in their work. And so the quote-unquote old model where you did your job and then you gave it your church that weekend, that is slowly disappearing. And what we're seeing replace it is people every day when they go to work, they want that to be the place where they have that purpose and sense of mission and difference. And so what's happening is the millennial generation is coming into these workplaces, and the most talented among them are saying, I'm going to choose, partly based on doing well, I want to make a certain financial end and have this lifestyle, but equally important to me, or even more important, is doing good. The idea that I'm going to find my mission in life in that place where I go to work every day and share my talent. And so that, in our minds, is the biggest game changer, because all of these companies want to get the best talent. And today, it's even more about culture and values than it is about simple pay issues. And so as a result, companies need to be high-performing places for society in order to be high-performing businesses. There are other factors as well. Consumers are buying. There are investors who are saying they want environmental, social, and governance standards. But the academic research finds overwhelming evidence on the employment front, and that is the greatest indicator for business performance. So we see that as the driving factor. The talent itself is driving the marketplace to be higher purpose.
Absolutely. And I've heard even some entrepreneurs saying that, or workers, that I would rather take a pay cut if I'm doing the work that has a social good attached to it.
So Net Impact, which does an annual survey of business schools, found about 6 in 10 of our students across all of these business schools would take a 15% pay cut in order to work for an organization that aligns with their values. So increasingly that's not necessary, because many of the highest performing companies are also some of the highest performing for society. But there is an absolute willingness and eagerness to actually be in the right place from a values perspective, even if it's slightly lower pay.
So that's good to know that companies now are taking heed.
Yeah.
And observing. So how can businesses improve their social and environmental impacts?
Yes, so there are a lot of impacts that businesses have, and what we tell them is start with what you're already doing, right? So there are a set of impacts that no matter they have a social conscious or not at the start, they are making, because as a business, you have impact, period. So who are you hiring? Does that reflect the diversity that you are in your community? How are you paying them? Do you have benefits? Do you have full-time? Do you have worker guarantees? So there's a whole set of things with your employees, and your greatest economic point of interaction is with the people that you hire. Typically about 70 to 75% of a business's money is going into the people that are working there. So that's first and foremost for every business. Then there's, what's your environmental impact? How are you managing, especially if you have a product, how are you managing all the sustainability commitments around that? And then the final piece is, how are you integrating with the community? How are you thinking about your role in economic development? And how are you thinking about what we call the win-win-wins, where you can say, okay, I'm going to make this investment in my community because it's also going to make it more successful for my business. And the really forward-looking businesses are creating shared value. They're thinking, what does society need? What does my business need? And where does that Venn diagram come together? And I'm going to double down in those areas because that's where I'm going to get the greatest value for the total set of stakeholders.
And those are excellent points. And even at SCORE Chicago and SCORE Association in general, one of the things that we're very intentional about is actually making sure that our mentors reflect the communities that we serve. So there's this very intentional drive to go ahead and make sure that we recruit a lot more women and also, you know, minorities also to become volunteers, to become SCORE mentors for us. Because business owners would come into SCORE and say, you know what, I want to be mentored by somebody who can relate to my experiences.
Right.
And so we're very intentional about that. We still have a lot of work to do, but there's definitely intentionality in doing so.
Well, I have tremendous admiration for what SCORE is doing, and to affirm your point, you know, the academic literature is tragically able to show how much systemic discrimination minority and women entrepreneurs face. And so the value of having a fellow mentor who has gone through that experience and understands the unique challenges of being in a still systematically discriminatory society is huge. And so, in our programming, we really focus a lot on that, and we care deeply about seeing a future in Chicago where we actually see leadership that reflects the people of Chicago. And we are sadly very far from that today.
Right, exactly. And I understand why people would want to do good, but what's the business case for doing good?
Yeah, so the number one business case is you're going to get the right talent, and talent is ultimately going to be the engine of your growth and success. The other business cases, though, are increasingly there are other factors that I began alluding to that are big in terms of the marketplace. So one is investors are now using what's called ESG, environmental, social, and governance risk factors, as key decision makers in their assessment. And the reason is academic literature has now proven at the higher company level that when you have those factors in place, you have higher performance. So as an example, I'm an advisor to a fabulous ETF, an exchange-traded fund that was set up by the YWCA.
Yes.
And what that fund has shown is that companies that have higher performing practices where it comes to gender equity and racial equity actually have higher shareholder performance. And the reason is that when you have women on boards, when you have minorities in leadership, you're accessing the full talent pool out there, and you're overcoming these sources of discrimination that are not only bad for society, they're actually bad for shareholders. Because what you're doing when you put a large part of the population out of your talent pool is you're missing all of that talent that could be accelerating your performance. And so the big opportunity for businesses is to be in the full opportunity space. And so investors realizing that have made big investments in ESG, and they've now used that as a factor. A final piece is consumers. So increasingly, we're seeing consumers really caring about where their products are made, and there are significant returns now if you say this is a local product, if you say this is a sustainable product. And there's increasingly market segmentation so that people that are serving certain segments of the market may be especially needing to do this. So there's a lot of literature now that middle-aged women, as it turns out, are really passionate about this and willing to pay significant premiums. So if you're in a business that has that as your clientele, you're going to get a special premium because that's a group that is actually showing in a number of different studies that they are willing to pay more if they can have the benefit of being part of a social movement.
Absolutely. And sometimes, even personally, I find myself grabbing a product off the shelf at a grocery store if I know that a portion of the profits would go to a charitable organization.
And if the organization itself or the company is really prioritizing those values. So a great company that is here in Chicago, Method Soap, they decided intentionally they were going to build their facility in Pullman. They were going to build it at LEED Platinum. My family is a Method family because, when we get our soap, we look up and we see a product that we know is going to enrich our community and going to make the types of decisions that we would want to make for the products that we're buying.
And I also love the fact that you mentioned earlier that investing in diversity and inclusion actually impacts your bottom line in a positive way, because studies show that when you have diversity and you include those diverse people and staff in your team, that it actually increases innovation and also teamwork as well and productivity.
Yeah, so there's a really cool social enterprise started in Chicago called Upkey. And the thesis of it is that so many companies are actually missing the talent pool because they have these filters like which school did you go to, and that leaves out a lot of talented people because they never actually get to interview them. And so he's working on a really new tool, the founder, and it's all about how do you better measure resilience? How do you measure, because when you interview, you may see people here and here, but if one person started here, they've got a lot more growth potential than if this person started here. And so there's some really interesting new tools that are trying to help us leverage diversity and better access its full potential.
And in general, how is the business world changing to embrace a more social and environmental agenda?
Well, so what I'm most excited about is the rating systems that are coming. So Morningstar and MCSI and some of the other groups that do ratings, they're increasingly now including these ESG factors and actually grading companies on their performance. And why that's so exciting is all of this is kind of possible for, I think, a lot of companies to glaze over. So they say we care, and the facts don't support that. And what I think is going to be changing is as these ratings come further into the fore, we're going to see even greater accountability, and we're going to see the need for companies to get totally real about this, because otherwise it's going to be clear to their consumers, to their employees, that they're not at the level of social impact that they're claiming.
I love that transparency. And Seth, what advice would you give to small business owners who want to get started in embracing their social purpose in their business and are wondering how?
Well, so one of the coolest tools out there is from a group called the B Corp. B Corp, and if you just Google that, you will find it. So they are a movement of businesses that have triple bottom lines. But here's what's cool. Even if you are not a B Corp, you can access their full audit. So they have this product that they use to assess B Corps that has 200 points. And essentially what you can do is, even if you don't plan on becoming a B Corp, you can just look over those 200 points and you can figure out which of these things would be easy lifts. And what I always encourage small business owners to do is look it over. There may be things on there that you haven't even thought about, from saving energy to how you're treating your employees, that are easy for you and actually maybe cost effective for you to do. They're going to save you money and they're going to be good for the world. And so it's the coolest thing, because it's like a list of 200 ideas that you can check out and say, does this make sense to my business? And even if it's only 10, well, you just made the world 10 times better, because that's 10 things you weren't doing before that now you're going to be doing that are going to drive impact in community.
And they're simple, easy tweaks.
Exactly. A lot of them are. And that makes it really easy for a small business owner who's obviously, trying to manage a million different things, and often in a place where margins are thin, to be able to have that kind of impact, sometimes even greater in terms of their proportionality than some of these big corporations, because, they're at the scale where that's really going to make a big difference in neighbors' lives.
What resources does the Baumhart Center offer to help businesses?
Yeah, so we would love for people that are watching to know that they can be part of our network, that there are a lot of free and open events, and they can find them all on our website, luc.edu/Baumhart Center, BAUMHART Center.
Thanks for spelling that.
And we have a network that is truly open, and we are engaging the Chicago community. And our, passion as a university, Loyola University Chicago, is Chicago's Jesuit university, and we are committed to justice in the world. And we really see the role of our business school to figure out how we harness business for good. And so we are intending to be a hub for all entrepreneurs at all stages, at all sizes, to get the tools that they need to drive good into their business.
Which is much needed. And just to be clear to those who are watching, these resources are free, correct?
Yeah, so we have many of the resources free. There are events that are free. There are some, like the degree programs and day-long summits, that there are fees for. But if they go to our website, they will see an overwhelming number of events and opportunities that are entirely free, open to the community, and that we eagerly invite them to participate in.
Thanks for clarifying that. So take advantage of it. Go to Loyola. And Seth, what other resources are out there?
Yes, so the B Corp is another great resource. In addition to the toolkit, there is an Illinois network, and you can go to the Illinois B Corp website, and they have a great leader who, in my experience, is eager just as a peer to coach and help because he's so passionate about the movement. And so that's a great network. There's a group called Conscious Capitalism. Conscious Capitalism is a national network. We were the first city in the country to get a chapter of it. It's a volunteer-led organization. They have events on a regular basis for how can you bring consciousness to your business. And that's part of the Mackey movement that was started with Whole Foods, where they were really trying to integrate multiple bottom lines into what they're doing. And then there are a number of national opportunities that people should be aware of in terms of information out there. Our sister center at the Boston College has a center on citizenship in business that is really at the forefront of a lot of these issues as well.
Fantastic. And I heard the Baumhart Center has a new MBA program
for
people who seek to marry purpose and profit.
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, the passion point in our school is how do we live our mission in our business education. And we decided we were going to put together a special MBA. So it's an MBA, you graduate with that same core of business leadership. At the same time, this MBA is exclusively for people who want to use their MBA to drive impact in the world. And it's called Baumhart Scholars. It comes with a big scholarship component. It has a mentorship component. It has a huge focus on leadership and development. And the first cohort has been selected and will launch later this month. And it is full of some of the most incredible leaders of Chicago and people that are going to be game changers. And we will soon, starting next month, be recruiting for our second cohort, which launches in the fall of 2020. And we would love to see small business leaders represented in the cohort.
And what's the best way to go ahead and prepare to increase the likelihood of you getting into the cohort?
Well, one thing you can do is we'll have information sessions. Those will all be on the website. And so come out to that, learn from the information sessions exactly how to put together your application and all the materials. So there is a significant application process. We have an interview and all the things that you'd expect. But we are eager to coach and to help and to support, and we are committed, and our first cohort is proof of this, to having a truly diverse, inclusive, and awesome group that is going to change the world.
That's good to know, because one of the messages for SCORE Chicago is that we tell a lot of small business owners that there's no reason for them to go ahead and walk on this path of entrepreneurship alone. So even before starting a business, right? We encourage small business owners to come in and say, why don't you go ahead and seek and get mentorship? Because in getting some mentorship and coaching, you're going to avoid a lot of landmines. And you're also going to save yourself a lot of time, headache, and money as well. As if, you know, versus you going at it alone.
Right. Well, no one knows how hard a business is to start except the entrepreneur who's done it. I mean, as much as you can anticipate, I think any entrepreneur I've ever spoken to has said it was harder than they ever imagined. And so having a guide is the best way to at least get ready, even if you can't fully anticipate it all.
Absolutely. And I was working at corporate America, and I was working 40 to 50 hours over there.
Yeah, and then it got harder.
It got harder. It's literally, you start, and your day ends, not when it's 5 o'clock.
Right. Actually, I've heard from some people your day never ends. You know,
the day never ends.
You wake up with the same worry that you went to sleep with.
Exactly. I mean, sometimes, you know, I would go ahead before even, when we were organizing this event, sometimes you get an email at 1:30, at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, no, you know, having led a relatively small nonprofit, we had 80 people, which, you know, in the scheme of things is small, and we consider ourselves very entrepreneurial. It's never ending, and you're always, you know, watching your email, and you're always waiting for the next shoe to drop because you have to react and be ready. And so, you know, I think for business people to then have an opportunity to be in education where you take a step back and you think big picture and you begin to look out 5 years and think about how do I scale this, you begin to figure out, even in the midst of all of that chaos of leading a small business, how can I begin to prepare us for that future and start making some of these critical and scalable moves to grow our business into the future.
Seth, for those interested, what's the best way to get more information and also to connect with you?
Yeah, so my email, and I'm happy to connect directly, is sgreen12@luc.edu, and then our website, luc.edu/BaumhartCenter. Again, BAUMHART Center. And we would love for the community to feel a part of what we're doing and to hopefully take what we have and really use it to make Chicago an even better place.
Seth, thank you so much for being here today and for all you do for our community and small business owners.
Well, back at you. I love SCORE, and I really believe in what you're doing, and we're grateful to be a part of this.
Thank you so much. And to those of you that are watching right now, if you'd like to volunteer, we're always looking for more SCORE mentors, so please connect with us. Our website is chicago.score.org. My name is Hannah Fernandez. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again next time on SCORE TV.